it's Bernadette Joy, and you may have heard that I recently became debt-free, including the house. AJ and I spent the last 3 years paying off $70,000 of student loan debt, $57,000 in another mortgage, and then $150,000 towards this house. And I thought it would be helpful to see what a debt-free house looks like. And I wanted to show some tips and tricks along the way on how we have been able to have this house, keep it debt-free, and still live a comfortable life. We bought it in 2014 for $238,000. And we are lucky that I checked Redfin this morning and the market says it's about $347,000. So we have some equity that we built over the last couple of years in addition to it being completely debt-free. So that's really exciting. And one of the first tips that I'd like to share is when people ask me, how do you pay off your house so fast? When you're looking at buying a house, you want to make sure it's a house that honestly that you can afford. And that is the best tip that I can give you. So AJ and I, when we decided to go buy a house in 2014, we looked at what we could afford, and what we did was what a lot of other people do. We went to the bank and we asked for a pre-approval, and they approved us for an amount that was much larger than the amount we ended up spending. And what I noticed is that when a lot of people go and buy their houses, they go buy a house at the top of that range because, of course, everybody wants a house that is the best that they can afford, right? But AJ and I sat down and said, what do we really need in this house, and what can we live with, and what can we kind of build over time? And so we ended up buying a house that was almost half of what the bank told us that we could buy, and that was one of the main reasons we were able to pay it off so quickly. So tip number one is buy a house that is going to be a lot less than what you can normally afford so that you're not struggling to make those house payments. So now that you know a little bit more about our house, we're going to invite you inside. Come on in. And now we are in my entryway, which is the first part of our house. Real talk, I never use that door. This is probably the first time I've walked through that door. We always use the side door. And one of my other favorite things about this house is this built-in bookshelf where we keep some of our favorite things. So for example, this is AJ and I, our bobblehead from our wedding. I don't know if it still looks like us, but that was pretty good. Have some pictures and some souvenirs from some of our travels. So for example, this is something that I got from South Africa a couple of years ago, and so I like to keep them out on display because these are some things that I really enjoy and bring me lots of happiness. And some other fun things to know is this house had lots of kind of old 1960s features, like there used to be a door here at one point. We decided to take that door down so that would be a lot more open. And another fun thing is AJ and I have very different preferences on decor. He likes comic books and things like Star Wars and sci-fi and all of that. I like pretty farmhouse kind of stuff. So it's sometimes kind of challenging to meld our worlds together. And so one day I was asking AJ, I want to get a piece of art or something that we can put in our house that would be representative of New York City, because that's where I'm from and I miss New York, I miss the skyline, and I wanted something that would remind me of that. And so I tasked AJ with that, thinking he'd come back with like a skyline, New York City kind of picture or whatever, and this is what he came back with, which, to be fair, he did follow what I asked, which it is New York City, but it is the Star Wars characters looking out on the New York City skyline. So no two wives. You might want to be a little bit more specific about when you ask your husbands to help you with decorating, but actually I really like it, and now it's in our front entryway. All right, so now this is our living room. This is probably where AJ and I spend most of our time because we both like to watch a lot of TV. I love all sorts of shows, especially anything related to crime, so like SVU and Chicago PD and all that stuff. So we watch a ton of TV, so it's important for our living room to be comfortable. And as you can see, we have two couches. This one is actually a pull-out couch. So when we have guests over, we can fit up to like 10 people in our house, which is really important for us because we have family and friends who come visit pretty often. But one of the main things that I wanted to point out was that this living room took us a couple of years to put together, and we kind of pieced it out over time, because if we were just to shell out all the money for this furniture all at once, we would have easily had to do it on credit cards. We would not have had that money to pay in cash. So we did it a little bit over time. So actually, this couch came first That was probably the first piece of furniture that we bought for our house. And I think we got it super on sale for like $400 at Ashley Furniture. And we had this other couch that was in here before that did not match at all. And it used to make me crazy, but it was functional and it was what worked for us at the time. And then just in the last year, we bought the second couch, and so now they match. But again, we saved so much more money by being able to save up the money in cash instead of having to put anything on credit cards, even though they'll try to get you with zero down and all of that stuff. If you're still putting it on a credit card, you're still running the risk of getting into debt. So tip for you is if you can be patient and piece together your dream rooms over time, you'll save so much more money. Some other things that I wanted that was really important was to have a big coffee table because we play a lot of board games and we eat dinner here sometimes. So we wanted to make sure we had a coffee table that could fit all of that stuff and storage on the bottom. One of the tips that I like to have is to have one of these boxes on your coffee table. We got this at a yard sale for like $10, one of these like antique crates, and I spray painted it with some silver. And this is where I put all the random stuff like a remote and cough drops and my little happiness project book, which I actually write in every day. I try to write in one thing I'm grateful for, and that is something really nice for me to do while I'm watching TV. But it keeps everything still looking kind of organized, even though it's still kind of a mess inside. We have this TV stand, which took me probably 2 years to find. And of course I ended up finding it on Amazon of all places. But one of the things that was tough was because AJ really wanted to have this sound bar, and I couldn't find a TV stand that would house that sound bar in the right way. And if I had shelled out all the money to find one right at the beginning when we bought the house 4 years ago, I probably would be in debt right now. But I was patient and we found one that we really liked, and it ended up being a lot less than the ones that I saw when we first moved into the house. Now, some of the other favorite parts of this room is we have our board game collection. So this is one shelf of it, and this is the other shelf of it. It has grown over time. AJ actually has an app on his phone that tracks all of the board games he has, and I think the last time I asked him it was like 73, but that was a year ago, so it's probably way more than that. While we were trying to pay off all this debt, we started staying at home a little bit more so that we could save some money and hosting people at our house instead and doing board game nights, and it turned into a personal passion of AJ. So if you want to follow him on Instagram, he's Bored in Charlotte, and he posts about board games all the time, and that came out of us trying to work on our debt-free lifestyle, which has turned out into something super fun. So AJ likes his board games. I like my karaoke. I will not sing for you right now. I am not a professional singer by any means. I just really love singing karaoke. And so one of the things that we wanted to make sure we had was a little karaoke machine in here. So when we have friends over, one of the reasons I wanted to have 2 couches was so that we could have friends over and sing karaoke. And what we actually do, fun tip, is if you want to have free karaoke, all you have to do is have an amplifier like what I have and some mics and a Chromecast, which you might already have because you have Netflix or stream other services, and you can just stream YouTube. And there's some karaoke channels. Basically, you look up any song that you want to sing and then the word karaoke, and it'll pop up, and then you can sing karaoke like it is in one of the professional places for free. And if you want to add a little bit of extra effect, you can get some lights in the room. So AJ installed these lights where they change color. Let's see if it actually works. Alexa, turn on spring. Ah, that actually works. So it changes colors, and so when we have friends over, we'll have the lights change colors. This is the biggest room that we have in the house, and it was also that ugly kind of yellow color that I didn't like that I mentioned before, and it has all of this crown molding up here. So AJ and I was really stalling on wanting to paint this room, and we thought about hiring someone, but finally one day I just caved in and said, you know what, let's just spend the weekend to paint this one room, because this is the room that we spend the most time in. But I'm really happy that we did that because, one, the white makes it so much brighter. I also change my mind a lot when I decorate and stuff. So while a lot of the other house is gray, I made this one white so that if we change furniture or if we change other pieces in the room or art, that we won't have to repaint the room. And it really just cost us the paint. And we got quotes for upwards of between $500 and $1,000. And so I like to think that we save that much by painting it ourselves. Thanks for checking out the first half of our debt-free house tour. Stay tuned because we're going to show you some really cool things that we've done with our house now that we're debt-free.